Thanksgiving dinner, my son stood up in front of everyone and said, "Stop acting so proud, Mom. You didn't pay for anything. I did." The whole table went silent. 32 years of sacrifice, erased in one sentence. My name is Linda, and I'm here to tell you what happened when my son thought he could rewrite history. Before I get into this, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know who's here with me today. It started 3 weeks before Thanksgiving. My son Daniel called and said he wanted to host this year. He'd just gotten a big promotion at his tech company, and he wanted to show off his new house. I was thrilled. My boy, all grown up, wanting to bring the family together. I should have known something was off when he insisted I didn't need to bring anything. "Just bring yourself, Mom," he said. "I've got everything covered." I arrived early to help set up. The house was beautiful. 4 bedrooms, granite countertops, one of those fancy islands in the kitchen. Daniel's wife, Ashley, was arranging flowers, and their 2 kids were running around in designer outfits. Everything looked perfect, almost too perfect. "Wow, honey," I said, hugging Daniel. "You've really done well for yourself." He smiled, but there was something strange in his eyes. "Yeah, well, some of us work hard for what we have." I let it slide. Thought maybe he was just stressed about hosting. The guests started arriving. My daughter, Michelle, came with her husband and kids. Daniel's father-in-law, a retired banker named Robert, showed up in a 3-piece suit. Ashley's sister brought her new boyfriend. 14 people total, all gathered around this massive dining table that probably cost more than my first car. Daniel had gone all out. Turkey, ham, 3 types of potatoes, homemade rolls, pies from some expensive bakery downtown. He kept pointing out how much everything cost, how he'd ordered the turkey from a special farm, how the wine was imported. "Must have dropped $3,000 on this meal alone," he announced, pouring champagne. "But hey, family's worth it, right?" Everyone murmured their agreement. I felt a knot forming in my stomach. Then came the toasts. Michelle went first, thanking Daniel for hosting. Robert talked about family traditions. When it was my turn, I stood up and said something simple. "I'm just so proud of the man Daniel has become. Watching him build this life, this beautiful home, it fills my heart." That's when he did it. Daniel stood up, his face flushed red. "You know what, Mom? I appreciate the sentiment, but let's be real here. Stop acting so proud like you had anything to do with this. You didn't pay for anything. I did. I paid for college. I paid for my MBA. I paid for this house. All of it." The entire table froze. Forks stopped mid-air. Ashley's face went pale. Michelle's mouth dropped open. I felt like I'd been slapped. 14 pairs of eyes turned to me, and I saw it. That look. Like I was some burden who'd been taking credit for someone else's accomplishments. Like I was a liar. My hands started shaking. I stood there, unable to speak. Daniel wasn't done. "I mean, let's be honest," he continued, his voice getting louder. "You worked at a bank as a teller, right? How much could you have possibly saved? I took out loans. I worked 3 jobs in college. I built my own credit. Everything you see here," he gestured around his expensive dining room, "I earned myself." Ashley touched his arm. "Daniel, maybe we should—" "No, it needs to be said." He looked at me with this cold expression I'd never seen before. Mom always talks about sacrifice, but what did she actually sacrifice? She had a regular job, a regular life. I'm the one who sacrificed sleep, social life, everything to get where I am. Robert, the father-in-law, nodded slowly. "Self-made men are the backbone of this country," he said. "Good for you, Daniel, for being honest about your accomplishments." I wanted to scream. I wanted to flip that expensive table. Instead, I just stood there trembling while my son erased 3 decades of my life. Michelle finally spoke up. "Danny, that's not fair." "Stay out of this, Michelle," Daniel snapped. "You always take her side." "There are no sides," I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. "I was just saying I'm proud of you." "Well, save it," Daniel said, sitting back down. I don't need false pride from someone who thinks showing up is the same as providing. The dinner continued in awful silence. I pushed food around my plate, unable to swallow. Every few minutes, someone would try to start a conversation, but it would die out quickly. The kids sensed something was wrong and got quiet. Even the expensive imported wine tasted like ash. I caught Ashley's sister whispering to her boyfriend, glancing at me. Michelle kept trying to catch my eye, but I couldn't look at her. I felt humiliated, small, invisible. After dinner, while Daniel was in the kitchen taking calls about some work emergency, Michelle cornered me in the hallway. "Mom, what he said was horrible. Why didn't you defend yourself?" "What was I supposed to say?" I asked, my voice breaking. "Call him a liar in front of everyone? Ruin his Thanksgiving?" "He already ruined it," Michelle said, angry tears in her eyes. "Mom, you work double shifts. You sold your car. Don't," I cut her off. "Please, I just want to go home." I said goodbye to the kids, grabbed my coat, and walked out. Daniel was still on his phone. He gave me a casual wave, like nothing had happened, like he hadn't just destroyed me in front of our entire family. The drive home took 20 minutes. I lived in the same small 2-bedroom house I'd bought 30 years ago. It needed painting. The roof leaked when it rained hard. My car was 12 years old, but it was mine, paid off, no debt. I sat in my driveway for an hour, unable to go inside. The house felt too quiet, too empty, too much like proof that Daniel was right, that I hadn't accomplished anything worth being proud of. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the moment over and over, the look on Daniel's face, the way everyone stared at me. Robert's approving nod. That word kept echoing in my head. Burden. At 3 a.m, I got up and made tea. My hands were still shaking. I found myself walking to the closet in my bedroom, the one I never opened anymore. In the back, behind old winter coats, was a cardboard box. I pulled it out and sat on the floor. Inside were the records I'd kept, not because I ever planned to use them, but because I couldn't throw them away. Each paper was a piece of my life, my choices, my sacrifices. Bank statements from 2006 showing the $47,000 I'd withdrawn from my retirement account. The note from the bank officer warning me this was my entire savings. My signature at the bottom, steady and sure. The tuition payment receipts from Northwestern University. 4 years, $52,000 per year. I'd covered the first 2 years entirely. The loans Daniel talked about? Those started junior year after I'd drained everything. There were the credit card statements too, the ones I'd used when the retirement money ran out. Balance transfers, minimum payments, interest piling up. $23,000 in credit card debt that took me 9 years to pay off. I found the letter from my landlord dated 2007. Noticed that I was moving out of my 2-bedroom apartment into a studio to save $600 a month. I told Daniel I wanted to downsize. Didn't tell him I was eating rice and beans for dinner so I could send him spending money. The payment confirmations for his MBA program, $78,000 total. I'd paid $40,000 before my credit finally gave out. The letters from 3 different banks denying me loans. My credit score had dropped to 580. There was the notice from my job, the promotion to weekend shifts that paid an extra $3.50 an hour. I worked Saturday and Sunday mornings for 4 years, missed every family gathering. Daniel thought I loved working weekends. And there, at the bottom, was the title to my old car, the Honda I'd bought new in 1999, sold in 2010 for $3,200. That money went straight to Daniel's summer internship in New York, the unpaid one he said he couldn't afford to take. I told him I got a good deal on a used car, didn't mention I was taking the bus. I sat there surrounded by papers, by proof, by the truth Daniel had denied in front of everyone. My whole body hurt. Not from anger. I was too tired for anger. From sadness. From the realization that my son genuinely believed his own story. He'd rewritten history in his mind, made himself the hero, made me nothing. The tea went cold beside me. The sun started to rise. I carefully put everything back in the box, back in the closet, behind the coats. What was I going to do? Show up at his door with receipts? Force him to acknowledge what I'd done? No. I closed the closet door. Some things, I thought, you just have to let go. I was wrong about that. Friday morning, Michelle called. "Mom, are you okay? I've been worried sick." "I'm fine, honey." "You're not fine. What Daniel said was unforgivable." I sighed. He believes what he said, Michelle. That's the hard part. He's not lying. He just doesn't know the truth. Then tell him. Tell him what? That I spent my retirement on his education, that I worked weekends for 4 years, that I went into debt so he could have opportunities? My voice cracked. What good would it do now? Michelle was quiet for a moment. "You're too good, Mom. Too forgiving. I'm just tired." We talked for a few more minutes before she had to go. After we hung up, I tried to go about my day. Cleaned the house, did laundry, made a grocery list. Normal things, but nothing felt normal. Saturday, I ran into my neighbor, Patricia. She's known Daniel since he was 8. "How was Thanksgiving?" she asked, watering her roses. "It was nice," I lied. "Daniel's still doing well at that tech company?" "Very well. He just got promoted." Patricia smiled. "You must be so proud. You raised a good one, Linda. All those years you worked so hard putting him through school. It paid off." I had to excuse myself, went inside and cried in the bathroom. Sunday, Daniel posted photos from Thanksgiving on social media. His beautiful house, the expensive meal, his perfect family. The caption read, "Grateful for everything I've built. Hard work pays off to my dear self-made blessed." 200 people liked it. 50 comments praising him. Not one mention of anyone else. Not his wife. Not his kids. Certainly not me. Monday, I went back to work. I still worked at the bank. Though I'd moved up from teller to loan officer 15 years ago. Nothing glamorous, but it was steady. Helped people. Paid the bills. "How was your holiday?" my coworker Janet asked. "Fine." She looked at me closer. "You don't look fine." I almost told her. Almost broke down right there in the break room. But what would I say? That my son was ashamed of me? That he thought I was nobody? Tuesday, I decided to stop thinking about it. Life goes on. Maybe Michelle was right. Maybe I was too forgiving. But I was 67 years old. I didn't have energy for drama. Daniel had his life. I had mine. Wednesday morning, I was making coffee when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Hello?" "Mom." It was Daniel. His voice was different, tight, stressed. "Daniel, hi. I need to talk to you about something." My heart sank. Was he calling to apologize? Finally? "The payment for my car. It's due in 2 days, $5,000. My bonus got delayed and Ashley's parents cut us off after some disagreement. I'm short." I stood there, coffee pot in hand, waiting. "I need you to loan me the money, just until my bonus comes through next month. I'll pay you back, I promise." The coffee pot felt heavy. The kitchen felt small. The whole world felt different suddenly. "Please, Mom, I really need this." I set the coffee pot down carefully, very carefully. "Let me make sure I understand," I said slowly. "You need $5,000 for your car payment." "Yes. Look, I know the timing is awkward after Thanksgiving, but this is business. This is different." Business. Different. The words hung in the air. "And you're asking me because you're my mother." He said it like it was obvious. Like 4 days ago, he hadn't announced to everyone that I'd never done anything for him. "I see. So can you help? I need to know today so I can figure something out if you can't." Something inside me shifted. It wasn't anger exactly, it was clarity. "Daniel, when you say you'll pay me back next month, how exactly would that work? Would you transfer it to my account? Write a check?" "Yeah, either way. Whatever works." He sounded impatient now. "Mom, I really don't have time for logistics. I just need to know if you can do it." "Can I do it?" I repeated. "That's interesting phrasing." "What?" "Nothing. Tell me something. This car, what kind is it?" "It's a BMW X5. "Why does that matter?" "And the payment is $5,000? It's a luxury vehicle, Mom. Image matters in my industry. I walked to my window, looked out at my 12-year-old Honda, the one I bought used after selling my good car to fund his New York internship. Here's what I'm wondering, Daniel. If I didn't pay for anything, if I never contributed to your success, why are you calling me now? Silence. Mom, that's not... Thanksgiving was just... I was being honest about my accomplishments. This is totally separate. Is it? Yes, look, if you can't help, just say so. I'll call someone else. Who? What? Who else are you going to call? Ashley's parents cut you off. Your father hasn't been in the picture for 20 years. Michelle is paying off her own student loans. So who, Daniel? Who else is there? His voice got defensive. I have friends, colleagues. I'm well connected. Then why did you call me first? More silence. Longer this time. Because you're my mother, and I thought you'd want to help me, he finally said, and there was something ugly in his tone. Something entitled. Right, I'm your mother. The one who worked a regular job, had a regular life, and apparently never sacrificed anything. Are we really going to do this right now? I apologized for Thanksgiving. No, Daniel, you didn't. You haven't said one word to me since I left your house. Fine. I'm sorry if you were offended, but I really need... If I was offended, I almost laughed. You humiliated me in front of our entire family. You erased everything I did for you. And now you want $5,000. I said I'd pay you back. Like you paid me back for college? For your MBA? For the car I sold so you could take that internship? Complete silence now. What are you talking about? And that's when I knew. He genuinely didn't know, didn't remember, had created a whole different story in his head. Daniel, I said quietly, do you remember your sophomore year at Northwestern? What does that have to do with anything? Do you remember how much tuition was? I don't know, like 40, 50 grand? Mom, I really don't have time. $52,000 per year. Okay, and I took out loans. When did those loans start, Daniel? Silence. They started junior year, fall of 2008. Want to know why? Mom, because that's when I ran out of money. I paid for your first 2 years entirely, $104,000 from my retirement account, the one I'd been building since I was 25. I heard him breathing on the other end, nothing else. You told everyone about your 3 jobs in college. Do you remember what those jobs were? I worked at the library, and I did IT support. You worked 6 hours a week at the library. That's one job, and it paid for your books. You did IT support for your dorm, 3 hours a week, and they gave you free housing upgrade for it. What was the 3rd job, Daniel? No answer. There wasn't one. You worked 9 hours a week total. You know how I know? Because you called me every Sunday and told me everything. You told me about your study groups and your parties and your spring break trips. Never mentioned struggling. Never mentioned 3 jobs. I must have forgotten. Your MBA, Daniel. $78,000. You remember taking out loans for that? Yes, I paid for my own education. You took out $38,000 in loans. I paid $40,000. Want to see the bank statements? His breathing changed, got quicker. The apartment you lived in during business school, the nice one near campus that cost $1,800 a month, I paid 12 months of rent. That's $21,600. You told your roommates your trust fund covered it. I never said... Your roommate Marcus came up to me at your graduation and thanked me for raising such a self-sufficient kid who never asked his parents for money. I smiled and said, "You're welcome." Do you remember that conversation? Silence. If you're with me on this journey, hit that subscribe button. I want to know you're here. The car you're calling about, the one you need $5,000 for, what happened to your first car? I sold it when I upgraded. I bought you that first car, a used Camry, $8,000. You sold it for $3,000 and put it toward the BMW down payment. So technically, I helped buy the car you're asking me to save now. I heard something that might have been a breath or might have been a word he couldn't finish. Your wedding. Ashley wanted that venue in Napa. Remember how the deposit was $15,000 and her parents could only cover half? Stop. I paid the other half. Told you I'd been saving. I'd been saving, Daniel. I'd been saving to repair my roof. It still leaks when it rains hard. Mom, please stop. But I couldn't stop. 32 years of silence was breaking open. When you got that internship in New York, the unpaid one you said launched your whole career, do you remember being worried you couldn't afford to take it? I figured it out, he whispered. I sold my car, Daniel. My Honda that I'd bought new. Only new car I ever owned. Sold it for $3,200 and sent you the money. Told you I wanted to try using public transportation for environmental reasons. You didn't have to do that. You're right, I didn't. Just like I didn't have to work weekend shifts for 4 years to send you extra money, or move into a studio apartment to afford your tuition, or put $23,000 on credit cards that took me 9 years to pay off. Why are you doing this? His voice cracked. Why are you throwing all this in my face now? I'm not throwing it in your face. I'm answering your question. What question? You asked me to loan you $5,000. I'm explaining why that's complicated. Because you want to punish me for what I said on Thanksgiving. I laughed. Actually laughed. No, Daniel, because I don't have $5,000. Silence. Then, what? I have about $200 in my checking account, another $800 in savings. My retirement account has $34,000 in it, but if I touch that before I'm 70, I lose 30% to penalties. But you work at a bank. You've been working for 37 years. I'm a loan officer. I make $52,000 a year. Do you know what I've spent that money on? Living, eating, keeping a roof over my head. And every single time you needed something, and I mean every single time over the past 30 years, I found a way to say yes. I could hear him trying to process this, could almost see his face, the way it must look right now. Your daughter's private kindergarten last year? The one that costs $2,000 a month? You called me in a panic because Ashley's parents refused to pay it. I put it on a credit card. I'm still paying it off. I thought, you said you had savings. I lied, Daniel. I've been lying for years because every time you called, you sounded so desperate, so stressed, and I thought, this is what mothers do. We find a way. Oh, God. His voice was barely audible. That promotion you got last month? The one you celebrated by buying the Rolex? I was so happy for you. Called you to congratulate you. You talked for 40 minutes about your success, your hard work, your sacrifices. Never asked how I was doing. Mom, I wanted to tell you. Wanted to say I was scared because my roof was leaking and I didn't know how to pay for it. But you sounded so happy, so proud. I didn't want to burden you. Please stop saying that word. Why? It's what I am, right? What you said I was. A burden who never contributed anything. I didn't mean it like that, Daniel said, but his voice was hollow. How did you mean it then? When you stood up at Thanksgiving and told everyone I didn't pay for anything, what exactly did you mean? I worked so hard, Mom. I wanted credit for what I accomplished. And you deserve that credit, Daniel. You did work hard. You built an incredible career, but you didn't do it alone. Nobody does. Why didn't you ever tell me? Why didn't you ever say what you were doing? I sat down in my kitchen chair, suddenly felt every one of my 67 years. Because that's not how it works. You don't keep receipts on your children. You don't make them owe you. I wanted you to feel confident, capable, like you could conquer the world. Mission accomplished, I guess. I had no idea. I swear to God, Mom, I had no idea. I know. That's what makes it so painful. You rewrote the story so completely that you actually believed it. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should have been honest instead of protecting your pride. He was crying now. I could hear it. What have I done? What have I done? You told your truth as you understood it. The problem is, you never asked about mine. How do I fix this? Tell me how to fix this. I looked around my small kitchen, at the water stain on the ceiling from the leak, at my 12-year-old coffee maker, at the calendar on the wall with my work schedule marked in pencil. I can't loan you the $5,000, Daniel. I don't have it. I'm not asking anymore. I don't want it. I'll figure something else out. You should call a credit union. Their rates are better than most banks. Mom, please, I don't care about the car. I said such terrible things in front of everyone. Oh God, what must they think? Robert thinks you're a self-made man. That's what you wanted, isn't it? No, that's not. I was trying to impress him. Ashley's family, they're always going on about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. And I just wanted to seem like I belonged. So you erased me. Silence, long and painful. I'm so sorry, he whispered finally. I'm so sorry. I know you are. What can I do? How can I make this right? I thought about the box in my closet, all those papers, all that proof. I could demand he look at every receipt, every bank statement, make him face it all. But what would that accomplish? You can start by being honest, Daniel, with yourself, with Ashley, with your kids. When they ask you how you got where you are, tell them the whole truth, not just the parts that make you look good. Okay. Yes, I will. And Daniel? Yeah? The next time someone helps you, acknowledge it. The next time someone sacrifices for you, see it. Because 30 years from now, your kids might be standing in their expensive houses, telling their families they did it all alone. He made a sound that was half sob, half laugh. I deserved that. You deserved honesty a long time ago. We both did. We sat there in silence, connected by phone and blood and 3 decades of complicated love. Mom, I want to make this right. I need to make this right. Then start by fixing what you broke at Thanksgiving. Those people heard you erase me. They need to hear the truth. I'll call everyone. I'll explain, not on the phone, Daniel, face to face, at your house, this weekend. Okay, yes. Saturday? Saturday. After we hung up, I sat very still. My hands weren't shaking anymore. My chest didn't hurt. Something had shifted, not fixed. You don't fix 30 years in one conversation, but shifted. Friday evening, Michelle called. Mom, Daniel called me. He was sobbing. What happened? I told her everything, the whole conversation. Holy shit, Mom, you actually did it. You stood up for yourself. Language, Michelle. She laughed. I'm 38 years old. You're still my daughter. He wants to have everyone over tomorrow. Says he has something important to say. Did you know about this? I know. Are you going? Yes. Good. I'll be there too. Someone needs to have your back. Saturday morning, I put on my best dress. It was 15 years old, but I'd kept it nice. Did my makeup carefully. Drove to Daniel's house in my old Honda. The same cars from Thanksgiving were in the driveway. Michelle's minivan, Robert's Lexus, Ashley's sister's car. My stomach knotted. Daniel answered the door. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. Mom, thank you for coming. He led me to the living room. Everyone was there, sitting on expensive furniture, looking confused. They'd been told this was important, but not why. Ashley stood up when she saw me. Linda, I'm so glad you're here. Michelle was already there, sitting next to her husband. She gave me a small smile. Daniel waited until everyone was settled. Then he stood in front of the fireplace, in the same spot where he'd given his Thanksgiving speech. Thank you all for coming, he started. His voice shook. I asked you here because I need to correct something I said last week. Something terrible. Robert shifted in his seat. Ashley's sister leaned forward. Last Thursday, I stood in this room and told you all that my mother never paid for anything, that I built everything myself. That was a lie. The room went absolutely still. Not a lie in the sense that I meant to deceive you. I genuinely believed what I was saying, but I was wrong. Completely, devastatingly wrong. He looked at me, and his eyes were full of tears. Mom didn't just pay for some things. She paid for almost everything. My education, my first 2 years of college from her retirement savings, $40,000 of my MBA, my apartment and business school, my first car, my wedding deposit, my daughter's kindergarten. She worked weekend shifts for 4 years. She sold her car. She went into debt. Daniel's voice broke, but he kept going. She did all of this without telling me, without keeping score, without making me feel like I owed her. She let me believe I was self-made because she wanted me to feel confident. And how did I repay that? By standing here on Thanksgiving and humiliating her in front of all of you. Ashley had her hand over her mouth. Michelle was crying quietly. Robert looked like he'd been slapped. I called her 3 days ago asking for $5,000. After everything I said, after erasing her sacrifice. And you know what she told me? He looked around the room. She told me she didn't have it. Because she spent her retirement on me. She's still paying off credit cards she used to help me. She has a leaking roof she can't afford to fix. I saw Ashley's face change, saw the horror dawn on her. I'm not telling you this to make excuses, Daniel continued. I'm telling you because you all sat here and watched me diminish my mother, and some of you, he looked at Robert, praised me for it, praised me for being self-made, for being honest about my accomplishments. Robert stood up. Daniel, I had no idea. How could you? I didn't know. But I should have. I should have asked. Should have wondered how a bank teller put me through Northwestern. Should have questioned my own narrative. He turned to me fully now. Mom, I can't give you back the years you spent in a studio apartment. I can't return the car you sold. I can't erase the debt or restore your retirement account. But I can give you this. He pulled out his phone, pressed a few buttons. I just transferred $50,000 to your account. It's not enough. It won't ever be enough, but it's a start. Daniel, I started to protest. Please let me do this. The BMW is going back to the dealer Monday. We're refinancing this house to something we can actually afford without help. We're living within our means from now on. And every month I'm going to send you money until I've paid back every dollar you spent on me. That's not necessary. It's absolutely necessary. He looked around the room one more time. I wanted you all to know the truth. I wanted my kids, he gestured to his children sitting quietly with Ashley, to understand where we really came from, not from my hard work alone, from my mother's sacrifice. He walked over to me, got down on his knees in front of my chair. I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm so deeply, terribly sorry. I put my hand on his head, like I used to when he was small. I forgive you, I said simply. The room was silent except for the sound of Daniel crying against my knees. Later, after everyone left, after the tears and the apologies and the promises, I drove home in my old Honda. My phone pinged with a bank notification. The transfer had gone through. I pulled into my driveway and sat there, like I had a week ago, but this time was different. This time, I wasn't invisible. This time, the truth had been spoken. This time, my son saw me. And that was worth more than any dollar amount could ever be.